Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I'm Sid Part 2. Joining me today is...
A geek for fun.
Indeed. Today we're discussing the newest Netflix Sonic series. They're not newest Netflix Sonic series because they've not done one before. The new Sonic series on Netflix, Sonic Prime. Now, initially when I pitched this, we were just going to talk about the pilot. I don't know if Alfie had the chance to watch everything or not.
I have watched all 8 episodes.
Okay, so we'll just talk about the whole first season, which, doesn't really... I guess we'll start off negative, right? Doesn't really feel like a season of television in that it doesn't tell a completed story in the 8 episodes you're given. It feels very much like your mid-season finale kind of thing. It doesn't feel like this is a proper first season to me.
I was going to say this is very much similar vibes to... Anyone who listens to the show has heard me and Ian talk about Doctor Who, right? But it's very much the Doctor Who fucking season 6 off episode. We end with a big reveal and then we wait half a year before the rest of the season. That's how this feels.
For real though. It's unfortunate to start with a negative, and I don't know what the plan is for season 2. I know in the past they've done a little more rapid season 2s for shows that were successful or whatever, and I know Netflix has had some really shitty animated series on its platform in the past. As far as just quality wise, I watched one last night actually because Leah picked it because it was pink. And I've seen them in the past, and this being a fully CG animated show, and the animation is pretty damn good, honestly. Maybe the budget for season 1 needed to be split across 2 seasons in order to justify the cost, or who knows. So I'm of the opinion we'll probably get the completion to this story at some point. But yeah, as far as this being season 1, really doesn't feel like it. It reminds me of Castlevania. The first season that was only 3 episodes, and it's it's basically an extended pilot kind of thing.
That very
ends
much
on a cliffhanger. Yeah, I kind of got that vibe from it. Which is, I guess it's fine to do overall, but it does make it makes awkward content for a review, certainly. But in general, what did you think of Sonic Prime?
I thought this was fun. This was a good show. I've got issues with it, which we'll get into. And I think it can be improved. And my hope is that if they are having this break between seasons, they can listen to some feedback and make it stronger. Because I think this is a really great foundation that they can build upon to make something really, really special. But for now, I think it's just a good show. I'm really glad this exists because Sonic cartoons, I know there's been some rough ones, but all of them kind of have their own kind of charm to them. Even Sonic Underground, the theme song is beloved because it's so silly, but you can't help but it's kind of a banging theme song. Again, it's Sonic's music, right? But Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, the people love the Sonic Sad AM. Yeah, people love that. That's got its whole kind of the entire Western fan base of Sonic is kind of ingrained in that. Then Sonic X as well was a big hit. Sonic Boom, unfortunately, because of the reputation of the game, didn't quite get the love it deserved. But that was the people who watched like those episodes and stuff really enjoyed it because it was very smartly written, and then they even got in like writers from like, the comic books. And I know Ian Flynn did some episodes of that. So Sonic, I think, has had a pretty solid track record on TV overall. But I do think it was time for like we've never really had one that was just the games. And the closest to that was Sonic X, and even then had like a caveat of, well, he's on Earth now, and we're gonna make that a big thing. And like Chris Thorndyke's a big character and stuff like. There's none of that. The only human character in this is Eggman, and like spoilers, I guess, various other Eggman like multiversal versions. Everyone else is animal characters, basically ripped straight out of Sonic Forces, and then the rest of like the main cast. And that's something I really wanted for like a Sonic show for a really long time, just to focus on these characters and like delve into them a little bit more, get their dynamics and stuff. So I think that's really good. We got a whole new voice cast with this as well, that aren't transferring over to the games like it did in the 4Kids era, and then with Roger Craig Smith. This is just still being its own thing. I think it's just because of like a union thing. So they're using a Canadian voice cast here, so that's why it's not like a big thing. They just couldn't use like Roger Craig Smith and stuff. But the actors they do have here, I think, are already good. Very like Sonic still sounds like Sonic, but it's a new take, and it's one I like quite a bit. Same goes for like Knuckles and Rouge and Eggman and everyone, like Shadow especially. Sounds very different than how he does like in more modern games. So all of that is just exciting. It's like it's exciting to get like a new era of Sonic. So overall, I'll just say I enjoyed watching. This wasn't like a slog to watch, even if I do have some issues with it.
No, I definitely agree with you, though. It feels the most like, yeah, and here's the cutscene from the level you were just playing, right? Like, you can just kind of feel the vibe from, like, every action scene in this feels like it could just be gameplay, and you're just playing a Sonic, and you're just watching the movie cut of a Sonic game or something. Which is kind of cool. It's nice to have something like this where it's still kind of jokey, kind of tongue-in-cheek in tone, but it's also not, like, overly dependent on comedy. It lets its drama and it's like dun-dun-duns speak for themselves, doesn't feel the need to make a joke out of every single thing that's happening on screen, and it's confident enough in, like, the cool factor of Sonic to let the action and stuff kind of speak on its own and stand on its own without the need to constantly, cut back to some joke to sell it. It's also a surprisingly convoluted plot device to kind of get the story that they're going for here, which is, very fitting of Sonic. And I kind of appreciate that like we keep getting these flashbacks to the before times and see like how complex everything was that led to this moment. It feels very, very like adventure era Sonic to me, and like story structure and stuff, particularly like Adventure 2 / Shadow era Sonic.
Yeah, like that. There's definitely that more. I wouldn't say in the same times, but like it's the same kind of. Well, it's weird, right? Because like technically the stakes have never been higher, except for like maybe 06, where like they're fighting across timelines. But at the same time, there's not spoilers. Maria doesn't get shot in the face in this, so it's like a weird kind of contrast. It's where like you'll have characters like Amy in the first world we visit has a pretty tragic fate, but it's not necessarily treated with that way. Like it's mostly played just so you can get like a robot gag, and they don't kind of deal with like say like in this was in like SAM, like being roboticized was like the way they killed off characters basically, with like a censorship tone that you didn't have.
I feel like they treat it with like a decent amount of weight in just the reveal of it. You
Right,
know? Like,
but
there's
then
not a lot
past
of
that,
time
they
spent
kind
on
of
it,
move
certainly.
on. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair.
And she
But
doesn't
like,
have
just
to.
in the moment when you like first see it, it's like, oh shit, man. I'll be honest, I was not ready for it. I was shocked. um, I was shooketh.
That's probably something that I didn't get to have that same kind of like surprise because I'd seen like the trailers for this and stuff before, so they showed
Okay.
that version of Amy and stuff like that. So I didn't have the surprise. I was like, oh, okay, interesting. Where are they going to go with it? And they again, it's not bad. It's the tone of the show, right? It's not going to be. It's a Saturday morning cartoon, right? And that's what it's trying to do. And it's going to give you life lessons for kids and like respecting your friends and like trusting people and learning to be patient and not going off on your own. All these are all good things. It's just one of those things where like if you're looking for I guess even if you've played Sonic Frontiers recently and you wanted that kind of weight for this, you're not going to get that. There's a very different tone here, and that's fine because I think Sonic should thrive in a multitude of different tones. Like I think the character is flexible enough where you can kind of do anything with them. So I think that's all good. But that is something where I know a lot of people when they see like Eggman wins future, they'll want something a lot darker. And it's like if you want that, you're not necessarily gonna get that here, okay?
Yeah, it's not quite Eggman Land goofy, but it's not as Sat AM dark future as some of the stuff some fans probably want. You're definitely right on that one.
But I think it's definitely an interesting premise. Like when this was first announced and they revealed that like it's Sonic Spider-Verse because everything's the multiverse these days, and Sonic being Sonic always has to hop on the latest trend, like whatever, because currently the latest like hip thing, Sonic has to do it. So multiverse is pretty cool, honestly, and like the comics have done multiverse stuff before, and like Blaze is from another dimension in the game, so it's not something Sonic hasn't done before, but never just being the primary like hook of the entire series is like going to these different dimensions and seeing his character in these different ways with Sonic kind of in the through line. I think that's I was really excited for that. And I still think they can do cool stuff with it, and they do some interesting stuff with it in this. But I will say probably my biggest disappointment with this is I think they kind of got a little generic and lazy with the core premise here. I think they could have done a lot more with Sonic the Hedgehog's multiverse than like now they're a pirate one and now they're an ape. Like I it's again, it's what it's trying to be, but like when they initially hyped it up, I know if Matt was here, he'd agree with me. He'd be like, "Oh man, we're gonna get like." What if Shadow was like the good guy and like Sonic was like, there's a no, you're not gonna get any of that.
I don't know, man. Pirate Knuckles was pretty fucking hype. I can't deny.
It is, but also it's one of those things where in kind of a tangent point to that, because I'll just get like my criticism out of the way, because again, I still think this was a good show. The pirate episode, right? And you're going to another dimension. It's like, you have a pirate character in Sonic who's from another dimension with Blaze, and her whole game was about you're on a pirate ship. It's like, you could have, you didn't want to do that, like the thing, and then like
no, because that would have been another CG model to build.
That's exactly my thing, right? Is the limits of this being a CGI series. I think they made a smart decision here of like, okay, what can we focus on? And I think it's pretty definitively, and I don't know if you'll agree with me on this, but I think most people tend to take this way. This has the best fight scenes out of any Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon ever, and arguably any Sonic thing ever. Like the fight scenes in this are that first Sonic Shadow fight scene was hype as fuck. I love that.
Yeah. No, I like that. I like their fight through the like headquarters in New York City. Like when he has to like leave the building and run around to lose the baby Robotnik. Ah, that shit was so hype. Like, it felt like a fucking boss level in a Sonic game, right? It was so
Yeah.
cool. Um,
It's
they
one of
really
those
did a
things.
good job of capturing like the fun and cool action of a Sonic game.
And it's even in Translate, it's like how the characters emote and express and move, where they really lean into that. Sonic is based, one of his primary inspirations is Rubber Hose, like those old Mickey Mouse cartoons, like having characters make really big expressions and wave their arms about and be really animated when they move is what Sonic's like. It's why his limbs are noodly and stuff, is he's meant to bend really easily. He's meant to be able to squash and stretch, and he's a cartoon character. And I feel like that's an aspect of him that got lost the more we moved to 3D Sonic and the movies as well, trying to make him more realistic. And Boom, which is funny as a comedy, is a lot less like exaggerated in like how the characters express and move than this. But I really love that. I think they do a great job in this of making Sonic look good. The model looks cool. It's got like a cool fur texture on it. Like they really took a time to make this look as good as possible for what it is, and move it at a pace where if like I was watching this as a kid, I'd be watching like AMVs of this on YouTube with like Sonic versus Shadow or Sonic and fucking Knuckles and Rouge fight against all the robots in the city. Like all of that, I think is really really great. Like all of Nine's things is like, oh man, that's great. It's a cool use of that. So I think that was like what they prioritized. But because they prioritized, you end up with the Blaze thing I mentioned, and also the we all live in Green Hill now. That's weird. Like, okay, we just all are from Green Hill, and that's just our entire world. And again, that's because they can't model Station Square and fucking Marble Zone or any other place in Sonic, and so you don't get Sonic locations in this aside from Green Hill, which has
Green
kind of been
Hill and
Sega's
Altered Green Hill, and then when you
right.
do finally get like something that's going to other places, it's the ocean,
Yeah.
which is a lot easier to model. No, I mean that's totally fair, and that is the downside of, or the cost of CG, right? That's the thing you have to weigh, is like you can do anything you want in this environment. You're not limited to, you can only draw it from one perspective, and then you have to like completely redraw it from the ground up if you want to change that perspective. You want to go for a different shot here? Okay, let's just move the camera. You get that advantage. Which I think definitely lends itself to why you get such good, cool, dynamic action in this, is they can do not just a lot more with the limited characters, because they have these like very specific sets. Essentially, they can kind of put the camera wherever they want. They can plan out these big sweeping shots, because you're right, like we are in Green Hill, but we're in like 3 different versions of Green Hill, and we get like a lot of really cool, interesting, like version specific stuff. Because it's not just like he's constantly fighting around the same loop to loop. Like the section I mentioned earlier, where he's running away from the baby Robotnik in like that big loop, that big circle that surrounds the factory. That's a fully unique set piece to that environment. A lot of the stuff that happens on the pirate ship, especially towards the end of that episode, or those episodes, where he's diving and weaving in between the rocks and stuff, and get some cool action there. That's a fully unique to that era environment. Same with when they go to the wilderness one. There's a lot of fully unique, interesting stuff in there. And that's just the trade-off. That's the limitation. It's, just part and parcel of it. I do think they do a pretty good job, because even though they're limited to the same number of characters showing up by and large, each character, like, in their different universes has a pretty distinct look, right? It's not just like Tails with a hat now, right? They do a pretty good job of differentiating, like, between Tails and Nines and stuff. Mm-hmm. And even the way like Tails moves in the in the wilderness environment. Like he goes completely feral, and they start animating him like crawling around and stuff, which was interesting.
Yeah, they definitely play to the strengths they have. But as a Sonic fan, it is it does feel like the premise is missing some payoff, right? Like you just say that pitch, right? We're gonna have Sonic go through the multiverse, and there's just so many directions you can go with that. Like the franchise has been to so many. He was in the Arabian Nights, for God's sake. Like he was a werewolf. Yeah, like you're telling me we could have gone to the werewolf world with that all werehogs? Tell me that would have been fucking sick. Like
in season 3, my friend, in season 3.
Yeah,
like, it doesn't have to all be solved yet, right?
That's what I'm saying, right? Is there's the potential that what I'm saying right now will become mute. Like that maybe they just did the kind of easy stuff to like ease people into the concept and kind of test the waters before they start pulling on like the actual game things. Because I don't know if you have been aware of this, and because you kind of stay out of like trailers and marketing for stuff, I'm going to assume you don't. But a big push from the creators of this show is like nearly every interview they have, they say this is canon to like the games. And the new thing Sega's been trying to push is that every new piece of Sonic media they put out, from the comics to the games to the shows, are all going to be connected and canon. They're not going to be separate things anymore. Like Sega really wants to kind of unify Sonic. I think that's already kind of fell apart, but like it's an admirable idea and it's an interesting one to see them kind of try to wrestle back Sonic's image now that he's a movie star and like he's a lot more popular. Like Sonic Frontiers sold fantastically. Like he's never been in a more successful place since the early 90s right now. So it makes sense that with more on the line, with more to lose, Sega
they're gonna fuck it so hard. They're gonna fuck up so hard.
I know, I just gotta wait.
I can't wait to see them drop this ball. It's gonna be great.
It's gonna go somewhere, right? But for the meantime, that they seem to be winning, and that's kind of been something where the audience for this show, who are Sonic fans, who hear that and are like, oh, I'm interested. I want to see what this has repercussions of that. I do think is a little disingenuous, and I do think puts a standard of expectation on this show that isn't fair to the actual show itself. Like, I think that's a bad choice to market this show, is to try and make it like this is like the continuation of the game story. Because you can argue with some of the other characterizations, but with Sonic especially, I feel like the story they're trying to do here isn't necessarily one that kind of works with Game Sonic, who...
Because he's a bit of a... Like, Sonic's always been,
has kind of been through it all.
Well, that and just... I think it's fair to say that Sonic's not necessarily the type to look before he leaps.
Yeah, for sure.
But in this show, he's a bit of a blockhead. Like, it takes him a while to put together that he's in another universe. Certainly too long. I think is fair to say. Sonic should be able to piece that together much sooner than he does. I think that's fair.
And I think that's something that, for a new take on it, for a younger Sonic, or just, again, in general, I think the movie found success with that, right? Is the movie has a very less confident Sonic, because he's younger. He's like 12 instead of like 16. He's had his first adventure. He hasn't met everyone yet. And then through the course of those films, he's like growing more into kind of the confident guy you see in the adventure games, or even in Unleashed and Colors, etc. Like when he's just kind of... He's been around the block. Like, you have that birthday cake in Sonic Generations where, like, say 20, and it's like, you can kind of buy that he probably is that old at this point. Like, he's kind of an experienced hero.
Now Sonic's 30.
Yeah, exactly, right? I mean, with how Roger Craig Smith is voicing him now, he kind of sounds like it. It's very deep. So maybe. But once
she took the kids, Shadow. She took the
kids, Shadow. I can't believe it. Well, man. But it's something that if you try and apply that to this version of Sonic, it doesn't necessarily work, and I feel like that distracts from what they are trying to do, and it doesn't let this guy kind of stand on his own. That aside, though, I do think a cool segue, because I want to get your thoughts on this, is what character in all of this was the standout to you? Like, who do you think they did the best here?
You know, it's gonna be crazy. I really liked what they were doing with Eggman Robotnik. Just the whole New York City and like the multiple versions of Robotnik. That's like, it's never fucking explained what they are, or at least to this point, it's not been explained. They're just the Chaos Council. You don't really know anything about them besides that they're all clearly some version of Robotnik. But it's like, but what version? Like, are these? They seem surprised by the existence of other universes. So is this like Robotnik at different points in his life? Like, what is going on with it? It's got like, I'm kind of Loki. I'm kind of hooked. And what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, like what's the? Because when I first saw him, like, okay, so it's Eggman from different universes, but again, they're surprised by the existence of other universes. They don't know how to traverse universes. That's something they have to figure out in the season, right? So like, then what the hell are those guys? Do they master time travel but not universe travel, or are they all like a family? What's going on with them, man? I'm fascinated.
Yeah, I definitely be interested to see how that plays out. The one thing that bothers me, and again, this is purely just Sonic fan brain worms, which I need to be sharp for immediately being bothered by this. It's not a problem. But like, you call them the Chaos Council. There should be fucking 7 of them. Come on, guys. Why are there 5? And we know the Chaos Emeralds are a thing in this because Shadow has one. So, like, don't fucking bullshit me.
Just fucking... Okay. No, wait. I can fix this. Alright, so there's 5. So easily you get the proper Eggman Robotnik that we see at the beginning of things. He joins the council at some point. There's your 6, right? And then it's just got to be like some kind of mystery alternate version to get to 7. They're building up to 7, Alfie. It's okay.
All right, it's fucking.
They're gonna recruit from the other universes or some shit. It's fine.
Okay, all right. I'll take you on forever. Just the environment starts like, oh, multiple Eggman.
Alfie, trust me, my uncle works for Sega. It's fine.
You know what? I can't argue with that logic. It's just mad. Don't fuck with me, man of action. Don't fuck with me, Netflix. I fucking toiled. I played Sonic Unleashed on the Wii. Don't you dare try and discredit me. I've read the Archie comics. I've bled for this franchise. It's like a fucking army vet coming home and getting my fucking benefits taken away. It's just like, I can't. Just give me this. No, I like the Chaos Council. I think they're interesting. I definitely really like the new VA for Eggman. He's a lot gruffer than Mike Pollock, which is kind of how he used to be. Like in Adventure 1 and stuff, the original VA is like, get a load of this. Like, he sounds a little bit more like that. And I do like that for Eggman. He sounds a little more threatening. He's got that gruffness to him. But
which member of the Chaos Council did you like the most?
I mean, the baby's really funny because it's the most evil
creepy,
one.
Man.
I think that's always a good gag.
Creepy.
It's like, whoa, are you sure about that? I really like that. Like, the main Eggman's like, whoa, this guy's not fucking around. I would probably be the baby or old man Eggman, because old man Eggman, like, he looks like Eggman still, and he's kind of got a little bit of elements of like classic Eggman in there. So I don't know if that's intentional or not, but I'll take anything I can get at this point. But I like the idea of just like an old, kind of been through it all Eggman. I think that's an interesting. I would like to see them kind of. It's just a shame. I wish he like knew Sonic, right? I wish this was like he was from the world where like he beat Sonic like years ago or something, right? And he's just kind of like trying it again now. Like there's more I would like here if they leaned into like those what if scenarios instead of. And again, it's kind of like Tails kind of has that, right? Like Tails in initially is 9 is like what if Sonic never met him, right? What if like
and he's like a coward, and he's a bit of like a loner and shit. Like that's interesting.
Yeah, like that's what more of kind of what I wanted. Like with Knuckles and stuff. Like I think you could have had this. Like, okay, what if Sonic never went to the Master Emerald, right? And like Knuckles was just stuck there on his own for the entire time, and he never got any socialization. Or like Shadow, right? Like Shadow especially, he has the excuse where he doesn't get like hit with the thing, so you can have like there's no multiversal Shadow stuff. But like, man, I feel like they won't do it because I think the material's a little bit too much for what this tone is. But you could maybe get away with just like a Shadow that was stuck in the capsule still and like got out like now, and like he did, and like Rouge and all that meet him, and then like, oh, we know who Shadow is, and he's just like, I don't know who you are, where's Maria, like that kind of thing. I was like, it's too heavy for this kind of thing, but like I look at that story potential like, man, that'd be such a good scene, like damn it. And like there's other Sonic characters I wish would get like a, again, the model thing, but at least with the environments, I think you can make more of a like understandable excuse. They're already basically pulling the game models for a lot of the bases for this. I think you can kind of get away with just a different texture on like Omega, right? Like I don't think people would really. He's already got like a better model in Forces than like a lot of these other robots do. They look good, right? But Omega's like got a good model as well. Like I think you could just pop him in there. Sega says they've given them like the access to the models. That's like how they do the thing and stuff. And they use like the sprite backgrounds. So I don't know.
The sprite flashbacks were my favorite bit, man. No lie. That shit was so cool.
I like the concept of it, but I do kind of cringe a little bit because
really?
It's not. It's like that. I see what they're trying to do, but it's like the like YouTube parody version of it. Like it's not Green Hill's background. It's like a shittier like version of it. I'm like, why can't you just use actual Green Hill? The movie did in like its end credits. Use the actual like sprite thing. Let's just, I don't know. I got what they do. The concept I think is great. I just think the actual execution of it kind of feels like, you know, in those movies where people make like a video game reference, and there's a couple of lines in this as well. It's like, oh, I got the high score, like that kind of stuff. It's just, it kind of makes me roll my eyes a little bit. It's kind of, it feels a little like boomer humor of like, we get it, man. We know Sonic. We know the arcade game. It's like, oh man, please stop talking. Like it feels like that to me. Like I respect it. It's cute. I like the intention. But I also kind of wish like there's so many Sonic sprite artists on Twitter you could hire to do like a 10 million times better version of this. Like this is a field that has been well trodden. Like this isn't new like thing. So, but again, that's entirely me coming into this being such a fucking Sonic diehard obsessive nerd, no life loser, right? Like so, like it's
like I honestly didn't recognize that it was like a fully new background or anything. I thought it was just that because like I saw the fucking Sonic versus Knuckles and you had like the painting in the background of the fortune teller for Hype for Sonic. I was like, oh, that's cool, that's fun. And I didn't really piece together. You know, it's been a long time since I've seen any of that stuff, and I've never even played those.
Exactly right.
I played those games. I've never beaten those games. I've never gotten to that stage because I'm bad at 2D Sonic.
That's why you liked it so much. You finally got the movie cut of classic Sonic. Oh my god! Finally, I can find out the plot of Sonic 3.
Yeah, right. No, but like,
That's so fucking funny.
I recognized it from the YouTube videos, Alfie. So I don't know,
That's
it was-
so funny. He waited fucking what, like 15 years to get the YouTube movie collection of a Sprite video game.
I fucking watched the game before. Thank you very much.
Oh good, I love that.
No, so like the actual truth doesn't matter. It's just gonna be the funnier things canon to you now.
I mean, that's how we work on this show, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, that was cool to see. I liked it. I thought it was fun. I bow down to your epic nerdiness of being able to tell the difference between the fucking sprite sheets, though. I guess you sir win the nerd card game today.
It's also because I follow a lot more Sonic
Too bad the show's
accounts.
geeky, gentlemen.
And when they talk about the show, that's a lot of the stuff that gets like brought out by like the Sonic fans. And you know how the Sonic fandom is, right? They're gonna eviscerate this poor thing for no reason. But it seems to be pretty favorable. It's just only like the odd two people here and there that are going really ham on it. I think again, like the critiques are valid, but overall, I think this show as well, like you were saying kind of near the beginning of this, it has good humor, but it doesn't need to just that's not the point of the show to just be funny.
Yeah, it's
and
not,
I really
it's
like
not
that.
colors level writing, you know?
Yeah.
Where everything just had to be a joke, kind of thing. And it's, you know, I like the writing in Boom for the cartoon, and that extended to the game. When you'd see clips from the game, the like dialogue and stuff was still pretty funny. But I liked the writing in Boom. It was smart, it was clever, but yeah, a whole fucking show where that's all you got was the meme joke Sonic. It's kind of like, yeah, I mean, sure, but he's also cool and has fun action and playability, and I feel like that wasn't highlighted in Boom. So it's nice to see that, you know, a pretty good balance struck here, where it leans away from like the Archie fucking super serious Sonic that spawned out of Sad AM, which, I mean, even Sad AM had its humor and its cool factor balanced a whole lot better than everything that was done with it after that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's definitely striking a middle ground in tone between something like Sad AM and Sonic Boom. It's definitely a lot closer to Sad AM, but it's got some pretty decent humor and just a good like comedic sensibility for its where to place its comedy, so that everything doesn't have to be a joke, and they let the drama hit where the drama needs to hit. They let the action be cool on its own without the need to constantly comment on it, and that works pretty well for it.
Now I'll speak to for Matt here because I know he'll say this. I definitely appreciate the fact that Rouge and Shadow get to also be funny, but not in an out of character way. They just get to kind of be the straight man to this whole thing, and I think that's a really like Rouge being part of the main cast has like never been done before, and like they clearly did it just so they could have another fucking girl at the sausage fest. So like, more power to them, right? Like, cause like Amy just being the one female character is like, you either stuck with that or you do what Boom did, you just make up a new character so you could have someone else. But just putting Rouge here as like part of the main crew is different, and I think it lacks that that Catwoman archetype in a Sonic show. I think is a very, very funny. Her being older than kind of the other kids and stuff gives her that very like big sister energy. Probably the funniest joke in the show for me was when she like visits Sonic and Tails, where they're in like the shed, and they're just like, "How'd you get in?" And it's like the door was wide open. It's like you say that, and it's not funny, but like the way they animate and like the delivery of it is like really, really funny. Like, I really like that, and like Shadow's whole fucking. He roller skates. He turns the cameras like they're air shoes. Like that's a really funny Shadow joke. Like you can't, you're making a joke about Shadow, but just his like deadpan response to that, I think, is great. And I like Shadow a lot in this because they don't do what's kind of been like his standard since basically Generations onward, where he's just kind of Vegeta and not like modern, like he's like Cell Saga Vegeta, like, and that's just who he is. Here he's a lot more how he used to be, where he's kind of like the actual competent guy who takes this shit fucking deadly seriously, with this lunatic Sonic who's way more lax and way more free with the wind, and you get to have that dynamic between them where it is very much like chaos control versus just chaos. And I'm really interested to see where they go with that from this point, where like Shadows ends this. The ending of this series is really kind of interesting. Like I would like Shadow to stick around for this, because I think they established a really interesting dynamic with her and Sonic, where it's not necessarily like he hates Sonic or he just wants to kill Sonic or anything. He's just like, hey man, wake the fuck up. We can't be, you're too strong to get away with this. We're all gonna die. I need you to get it together. And I think that's a really cool direction for Shadow that gives him something new to do as almost kind of like a mentor figure. Because he is a lot older than Sonic as well. Yeah, that whole 50 years thing, and like he wasn't conscious for it, but like he is from like a different era. And the whole ultimate life form vibe is like, I don't know, I really wasn't expecting Shadow to be anything in this, but like he kind of came away as like, oh man, like the Shadow take in this was like fascinating. Like I want to see more of this dude. And his VA is interesting as well, because he's not doing like a typical like gruff Shadow voice. He's just kind of doing like a normal voice. I think it's interesting to see that coming out of that model. Like at first I was kind of thrown back by it, but as it went on I got kind of used to it. I was like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, no, I liked Shadow's role in this. It was kind of cool that he was like the mystery that kept developing, all the way from basically episode 1. And just kept gaining and gaining in the background. I thought that was pretty neat. I like the way that all the characters bounce off of each other in this. I hadn't really thought about Rouge, but yeah, she's pretty good in this. I quite like the stuff they did with Amy in this. I thought that was pretty well handled, all things considered. Especially when she gets to be the bad guy for a couple episodes. I thought that was kind of a cool thing to do with her. It was a bit unique.
Were you surprised that they didn't touch on the Sonic Crusher tool? Because I was surprised they didn't.
Yeah, that was a bit odd. Because you're kind of used to that. That she's that pick me girl kind of thing, and I was a bit ready for it, and they just don't touch it at all. I don't know. Maybe they're just trying to chart a new path for Amy. To me, it's funny that you mentioned the everything's canon thing, because the first thing I thought of, when watching this Amy, was her dynamic with Sonic was a lot closer to the characterization in the early issues of the new IDW comic.
Yeah.
I didn't read much of that, but I read like the first, I think, 3 or 4 issues, and I got Amy's first appearance in that, where she and Sonic worked together for most of the issue, and that was the kind of vibe I was getting off Amy in this. So I was quite surprised by that one.
Yeah, and I think that is a conscious, like, we're moving away from this, because Frontiers, Amy's whole side story, and spoilers for Sonic Frontiers if you haven't played it and stuff, but again, Sonic game, and it's not even the main plot, it's just like Amy's like little section of it, is about like moving on from Sonic, and like she's going to travel the world on her own and like find her own thing anymore. She's kind of like over it. And And like it's interesting they're going that way. I wonder if that's like a step too far in a direction that's not necessary. It's like I understand not wanting, because we did a whole discussion on Amy like years ago. They were doing the Geeky Gentleman character discussions, and we like talked about kind of like how it was an interesting role reversal for her, where she was like the opposite of the Princess Peach archetype, where she was the person that chased Sonic. He was the one that didn't want to be with her and stuff like that. And it has been over 20 years since they established that. So I can understand wanting to like find a different direction for like our main primary female character, that her main motivation isn't just the guy. But I wonder if maybe you kind of lose a little bit of a personality by taking that away like so drastically. I don't know. It's interesting. So I wish Matt was here because I'm sure he'd have like a whole fucking essay on it. But like this was kind of the thing that cemented it to me, was like, oh, like the comics, the games, and this are all really kind of pushing like Amy's not gonna be Sonic's like fangirl anymore. She's kind of just completely gone away from there. So I wonder if they introduce her in the movies, they'll probably not address that like at all either.
Yeah, you might be right. They might just be kind of over that. Which, I don't know. I'm afraid that in doing so, the attempt here is to create a more positive role model female character, which is all well and good, but ultimately Amy Rose is never going to be the main character of like any Sonic thing. Like it's hard for me to imagine Amy getting like her own spin-off comic or game or movie. In that order, by the way, that would be the levels of liberation at this point, which is funny that game has to come before movie for a video game character, but still. Because like she was in Heroes, right? She was the speed character in Heroes. So she's got like the premise for it, but just at the end of the day, they're just not gonna do that with her. And so it feels like good intentions, but you might be robbing the character of something that makes her unique and thus interesting in order to make just more of a generic female love interest assist character kind of thing. And so that might be a bit of a poor calculation. Because I think there is something fun to do about playing up Amy's like obsession with Sonic and then just having her be like competent enough regardless of that, or having her use that as her like motivation to be better and better. It's like one day I'll be good enough kind of thing. Could be kind of funny. I don't know. It's a hard balance though, I suppose.
That was kind of like her original in like the 2000s kind of thing, is that she was like hyper competent. Like she was like broken, but like her Achilles heel was Sonic. Like there's this really funny panel where, like Eggman has Amy captured and like Amy's like so he just like runs past her because he's like doing something else, and Eggman's just like, oh, why doesn't he go? And then Amy just breaks out with like a one pinky and then smashes the Eggman robot. He's like, oh, he was supposed to save me, carry me into the sunset. And Eggman's like, wait, no, what the fuck? You could have done that the whole time. And Amy's like, yeah, of course. Like there's stuff to do with that could still keep her like, again, like strong and badass and funny. But like you said, and I think it sticks out for me more here because they keep everyone else's dynamic with Sonic the same. Even Rouge and Knuckles kind of have a little bit of their like back and forth like flirtiness in this show that's from the game. So it's weird that like Amy and Sonic don't. Like Tails is still Sonic's best friend. Knuckles and him still have that rivalry. Rouge is still kind of like the thief with a heart of gold kind of thing. Which is Amy's just like my friend Amy, who I like platonically, and we platonically like each other. It's like why is it so hard for this, man? It's weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little on the fence about it. I like the episode where she gets to be a villain. That was just
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, it was a good
That
time.
was unique and cool to see.
I like her VA in this as well a lot. I think she does a good job.
Yeah, no, I didn't have any problem with any of the voice cast. I'm a little surprised to find out any of the voice cast is replaced because it just all sounded kind of what I'm used to these characters sounding like. If that makes
Right.
sense.
Everyone is doing a. This is Sonic's voice. This is Knuckles' voice. This is Thing, and the Sonic VA is a big fan of Sonic. And he's also the first black guy to voice Sonic since I think Jaleel White. You can correct me if I'm wrong about that, but I think that's pretty cool as well. That we've gotten to the point now where Sonic's been around for so long that like people who are fans of Sonic, we've seen that with Mania, right? Is like they're making the games. The Ian Flynn is writing the video games and stuff like that, and now we've got a fan of Sonic who's voicing Sonic himself. That's not to say the other actors haven't been like fans of Sonic, but they were all like older guys who like had heard of Sonic, right? But like the let me get his name so I wanna correct him. Sonic Prime VA. Voice cast. Devin Mack. And he's like a super big Sonic fan. Getting to voice his hero, and I think that's always really cool. He does a really good job with it. So it's interesting that we've gone away from like when we recast these characters to having such like drastic shifts, where now I think they're pretty set in stone. Like these are what these characters sound like. Like I think Sonic's always gonna be in this range because everyone kind of, whenever you do ask someone to do a Sonic impression, they always kind of go to the same place, right? So I think that's gonna be stuck in stone, and kind of I think a precedent for like other franchises like Dragon Ball, right? Like eventually Dragon Ball's gonna keep going when the Funimation actors can't do it anymore. But I don't think you're gonna ever have like a big change with how Goku or Vegeta sounds like. I think it's just gonna be they still kind of sound like these characters.
Which is funny because like Sabat got to change his approach to Vegeta drastically.
Yeah,
over the course of the years. It goes from being like, I am up here, to like much lower. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Like I liked the voice cast for this. Again, I was surprised to find out that anyone was swapped out because nothing like went off here, and I was just like, oh, that's not the same character. That's a different voice actor. I'm not super familiar with the voice cast for Sonic as is. I've just kind of gotten used to hearing them. It's funny, Jaleel White's like the first Sonic VA in America, and yet his take is now the most distinct from everything else, which is really funny. That it's aged in that manner. I don't know. I don't have any notes on the voice cast. Everyone did the job that they were supposed to do, I feel.
Yeah. I guess then a last place that's coming to mind for me, unless you have any other things you want to go to, is considering this is very clearly setting up another half of episodes or season. Do you have any kind of like big wants of what you'd like to see them do next time? Because I kind of covered like my thing is just general. I'd like to see more game references and more Sonic specific stuff instead of general stuff. But do you have any other things you'd like to see this series go down the line? It doesn't even have to be next season. It could be like if this is successful and runs for like 5 seasons, like where would you like to see Sonic Prime go?
You know what I want, Alfie?
What do you want?
You know what I in my deepest soul, they'll never do it, and they'd be absolute morons to do it. It would be wholly irresponsible to do it. All right. I want the just for like a gag, like a little cutaway moment. I want him to go to the universe that's like inspired by all the weird, cringy Sonic fan art. That's like
That'd be
fetishy
so good.
I just want for like I want the scene where all the different Sonics from all the different universes get together, and then just one of them's pregnant in the background or something. You know, just
he like my powers is I can inflate.
yeah, just
But they don't treat it like a weird thing. They just he can like turn it to a bowling ball and they just play it off. But like we know.
yeah, we know. If you know, you know. That's what I want. That's what I want so badly. You don't understand.
I'd be down
To
for
just
that.
it is like you know what I would do if they do it? I would get the clip and I'd put that and then I'd find the creators. This show is canon. Just on a loop.
Look, man, Sonic has been made canon, so surely all that's left is Sonic Show, then we'll be at home.
Yeah, there we go. I legit want that so badly. Barring that, it'd be cool to get like a, Doctor Who level multi-Sonic crossover. Bring in fucking Sonic Underground with Sonya and Manic, and
That'd
bring
be
in
cool.
fucking Sad AM and Movie Sonic and fucking, I don't know. What other versions of Sonic that are from like completely separate continuities are there?
You could bring in Boom Sonic, you could bring in Sonic and the Black Knight with the sword who became King Arthur. You could bring in a couple of the ones like that. I'm begging them. I just had this in my head. I suddenly got mad. Yeah, this show's no longer good. If fucking Metal Sonic doesn't show up, I'm gonna kill someone. He was in Boom. You really did it. You could just do it as like the Amy thing, right? Where like he's not actually Metal. He is like Sonic, but made roboticized, and like pay that off, because we've always kind of built to that, but we never like committed to it. This would be a really cool place to do it. The Eggman, where like you already seen like the Chaos Council. Like, oh, this is a world where they won, where they didn't know Sonic. I really want to see the Eggman that one where like Sonic was around, but like maybe it was Sonic. You want to do like, because the whole theme is like about his friends, right? So maybe the second half of the season can be about, all right, these are where Sonic was alone and he didn't have his different friends. Like this is a Sonic that never had Tails, or this is a Sonic that never had Knuckles, or different things like that. That'd be really interesting. I think that'd be a cool place to go.
That could work especially well. Like, we've kind of got the premise of this season down, so that could work really well to have to contrast with Shadow there.
Yeah.
If like, okay, so he's been jumping between these different universes on his own. Now he's got Shadow with him, and now he's going to completely separate universes. Okay, one thing I want to talk about, because this is the part that felt most like a video game to me, and it's kind of weird that it's in the show. How did you feel about, I guess, essentially the power-ups that he gets throughout, like, traveling to a different universe, and he gets, like, new shoes, new gloves that give him, like, a different, ability in every universe? How'd you feel about that?
I think that was cool. It definitely reminded me a lot of like the upgrades you'd get in the adventure games or in the storybook series, that they'd always, whenever Sonic would land in Secret Rings, he got like the flame on his heart. And then Black Knight, he got like Caliburn with the sword and like the gloves there and stuff. So like Sonic, whenever, he's always pretty good with like accessories. Like he had like a hoverboard for a while, but then he got a car. So like he's always been pretty. That's what where's the Sonic racing universe? So they're all just kart racers. And so it's just
Wait, that's a different universe?
No, they should do that as like a thing. That'd be funny. Like there'd be a funny reference where like Sonic's just like, why are you always in cars? We could just run. Like what? That'd be really good. I'd be super here for that. But like Sonic's always kind of been accessories, so I don't mind them. I think it was cool. I like that they fit the aesthetic of every universe. It led to a little bit of visual variety for Sonic, where he fit in a little bit more with the rest of the cast, and just like, oh, here's just regular Sonic just like plopped in. I know when people first saw one of the first clips that got released of this was like Sonic getting his new shoes in New York City, right? And people immediately were like, "Oh no, this is Sonic's new design. They MCU-ified him." It's like, that's really funny. It's like he's such a simple design. They found a way to add lines on his shoes and gloves, and I think that's pretty good.
Okay, in all fairness, no, that is not the first time this has been done to Sonic. Y'all fucking praise Adventure for the soap shoes.
Soap shoes are so sick.
Okay, Alfie. Okay. If you are not willing to go buy and wear the soap shoes,
I would. Those look amazing. I would kill for them. You would also would want every pair of Sonic shoes. You're also in this sickness with me. Don't pretend.
no, I am. But like the soap shoes are like if we're talking over designed, like too much, the soap shoes gotta be on that fucking list. Like above any version of these he gets. In this show, the soap shoes are pretty fugly. Because they got like fucking green and gold on them and shit too. It's a little much.
They're awesome and totally intended and wasn't just a promo by Sega because they got a brand deal last minute and the original Sonic model with his original shoes is still in the game code. That would be ridiculous, Ian. How dare you suggest it to me?
My bad, Alfie.
And it was so late in development that there's literal trailers of Sonic Adventure 2 where he has his regular shoes.
Damn. Harsh. I didn't know that. That's actually really funny. I thought the soap shoes were there from the start.
No, it's like late edition. They just decided to give him a new model because they got a brand deal.
You couldn't do that with a game nowadays. That's kind of crazy to think about. You would not be... You could not afford to do that with a game nowadays.
Times are different.
Yeah, they were. I don't know. I like the show. I like the addition of the shoes and gloves. I thought that was kind of cool. I like the ones in the wilderness version. That was the coolest. It was kind of funny that in pirate version he just gets Shadow's shoes basically.
Yeah. That was funny.
Yeah. But I like the gloves in the Savage Land. Let's call it that. Let's call that. Because just like they got the fucking like spikes so you can climb the trees. I thought that was pretty cool. Not that he necessarily needs those, but it looked cool. It worked. Okay. I think that'll do it. I think that's pretty much all I have to say about this. It was fun. It was cute. Oh, no, wait, I take that back. I do have something else to say. I watched this with Leah. I watched every episode with this with Leah. She really, really enjoyed it. She was pretty engaged. There were a couple times where she got bored and wanted to go do something else, but that's just the nature of a toddler. She was asking to watch it a couple times. I think it's episode 2 starts off with like you see the beginning where like you're with Shadow and you see kind of his perspective on stuff. So that episode starts off and she's watching and she goes, "No, not Black Sonic, Blue Sonic." And that was really funny.
This is what. Alright. All you fuckers who are like, Sonic Adventure 2 makes no sense. No one would confuse Sonic and Shadow. Go fuck yourself. That's so good.
From the mouths of babes.
Yeah, that's so good. I hope she I hope it comes out relatively soon so she can still kind of keep up with her. That's great. That's kind of what I'm glad this exists for, right? Is like we needed, I think, like a young entry point to Sonic. Because the movies are good for that as well, but like not every kid wants to watch a movie. Sometimes they just want to watch a cartoon, right? And sometimes they don't want to watch a cartoon that's just jokes.
Not everyone wants to watch a movie where you got to fucking watch a cop for 90% of it.
Exactly, right? Sometimes you just want something that's Sonic, that's easy, that you can put on. It's got all the characters, they're all in their personalities that someone can grow up with and be like, oh yeah, I like Sonic. I want to play. Like, it's a really good entry thing. So that's the highest praise I can give it to. Is like you can show this to a kid and they can walk away really liking Sonic and like understanding the characters, like how they're meant to be, and not like a parody version of them. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, yeah. And so she liked it. She had a lot of fun with it. She got bored a couple times. I completely missed the plot development where Nines gets captured because she was throwing a fit and walking away and didn't want to watch the end of the episode. I'm like, I'm fucking invested right now, god damn it.
That's really funny.
So that was kind of funny, but otherwise, I don't know. It was good to see that she liked it. That was kind of one of the things that made me want to talk about it in the first place. So I'm glad that we were able to watch it all together. Again, surprised that it's as short as it is, but you know, I'm sure we'll get season 2 at some point, and we'll see if this. Do you know, has this been like received well? Has this been like a successful launch for a Netflix show?
Yeah, it's got really good views. I think it was in the top 5 most watched Netflix things this year in general. So that's really good for a cartoon. And people critically praised it, and the majority of the Sonic fandom is into it and wants to see more. So I think that's about as big a success they could ask for. And I think as long as Sonic continues to keep pumping out, like Frontiers has got its DLC coming, I'm sure the third movie is going to have some trailer stuff's coming, I'm sure the comic's going to have some big stuff. As long as they keep this multimedia push going, I imagine they'll want to have this as kind of like a front line of like the TV side of that. So they'll keep pumping stuff into this and wanting to keep that going. So it's an exciting time to be a Sonic fan, man. We really were in like a kind of a second dark age for a while there, but they turned it around, and we'll see how long it lasts. But for now, it's looking good.
I can't wait to see them drop this fucking ball. It's gonna be so good.
Third time's the charm, I guess.
Sonic Frontiers 2 is gonna come out like next week, and it's just gonna be fucking Sonic in a T-pose the whole time and shit. It's like, you gotta capitalize on it now. We've never learned from our mistakes.
I'll just lie and say it was a fucking avant-garde choice.
Yeah. I don't know. So that's kind of all I got. Let's go ahead and go into ratings then. Alfie, what would you rate Sonic Prime?
I'll give this I'll give this a 3 out of 5, but that's like a 3 that's more like a 3.5, like leaning strongly to 4. Like I don't think this is a masterpiece or like away from it, but I think it's a really solid cartoon. And I think that's a fair rating for it, and it's got the potential where if they use these opening episodes kind of like a springboard to go and do some more interesting stuff, I think it can go up quite a bit, because there's nothing here that I think is holding it back. But if they kind of stay the course with this and kind of keep this as it is, I don't think it will ever get bad. But I can definitely see like the appeal of it kind of wearing off. It's like if they stick to like a formula of like kind of same.
They need to change it up. They need like a big mic drop moment every season kind of thing.
Yeah. I think you could like, all right, we kind of get it, but if the ending kind of promises something a bit different, and I think that's a good call. So I think a solid 3 leaning to a 4, and then future seasons will dictate where that lands.
I still don't understand why Alfie doesn't want to do a 0.5 system, but it's okay. You've like called us out for it, but like, I don't do the 0.5s like these chumps. I'm like, god damn, fuck you too, bro. But yeah, I like this quite a bit. This was pretty fun. I really don't have too much negative to say about it beyond just, man, it's kind of weird that like we don't get a full season for a Netflix show. But whatever. So I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5. Fucking Baby Robotniks. You know, I first saw that thing and I was like, who fucked Dr. Robotnik?
Matt, if he had his way.
Probably. There's probably like, I mean, what am I thinking? I could look up at least 7 billion pieces of erotic Dr. Eggman fan art right now. And I maybe, if I'm not lazy, could put it as a subliminal message on screen right now to the world to see. But I'm probably not going to do that. I'm too lazy. Now everyone's like, oh god, should I go back and actually watch the episode and go frame by frame to see if I see weird, cringe Dr. Robotnik fan art?
Yeah, breaking it
Yes,
really bad.
the answer is yes. You absolutely should. Anyway, that'll do it for this episode. Alfie, do you want to come up with a discussion topic for next week? Alfie? Snake! 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 Do I have a message? Oh, I'm breaking up really bad. Uh-oh. Hello?
Hello?
Hey.
Okay. Yeah, okay, fine now. It was very, very bad for a minute.
Okay. My bad. Do you want to come up with a discussion topic for next week?
Sure.
Cool.
We can do... Oh, this would be...
Okay, get the dick out of your mouth and then come up with a discussion topic.
I could do both. It's so close here. Get out of here, Louise. You know what'll be fun? Because it's probably going to be good timing, because this month is where we're supposed to be getting some announcements for this. Let's do our individual roadmap for the new DC Universe movies.
Ah, okay. Like if we were James Gunn, what would we do?
What would be your, and I guess just say do phase 1, right? And that can be as long as you want, or take whatever shape it is, but it can't just be like one movie, like pitch like an actual series of films.
Okay. Alright, that sounds fun. Yeah.
Because that used
I'm
to be
down
like
for
an
that.
old, I know if you're talking, I can't hear you again.
Uh-oh. Weird. Damn. Maybe it's me. I don't know. You there? Alfie? Maybe I should leave and come back. Hello?
I'm breaking.
Okay. Just, that's good. Alright. Everyone, thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I'm a geek for fun. Run.
And we are your Geeky Gentlemen, and we will be discussing things!